In 2025, data centers stopped behaving like real estate and started behaving like a utility bottleneck. The story wasn't vacancy, it wasn't rents, it was power. And if you look at the numbers, the message is blunt. Demand has outrun everything. By mid-2025, North American inventory reached roughly 8,155 megawatt of capacity. That's a record, and still nowhere near enough. Vacancy dropped to about 1.6%. From an operator's perspective, that's effectively zero. Even as new capacity came online, it was absorbed immediately. Hyperscalers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, locked up megawatts for AI training and inference before the concrete cured. Pricing followed the constraint. For mid-sized requirements, 250 to 500 kilowatt, rates moved up a few percent. For 10 megawatt plus hyperscale deals, asking rents jumped close to 20% year over year in some markets. The closer you got to big power and big blocks, the less the conversation sounded like leasing, and the more it sounded like rationing. The capacity crunch wasn't isolated. Northern Virginia, Ashburn and its halo remained the global epicenter. Net absorption hit new highs. The construction pipeline surged roughly 80% to more than 2,000 megawatt under development. Across primary North American markets, over 5,200 megawatt was under construction mid-2025, about 60% more than a year earlier, and 74% of that was pre-leased. Phoenix, Dallas, Silicon Valley, Atlanta, Chicago, all ran with vacancies in the 1 to 3% range. Internationally, the Flappy D markets, Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris, Dublin, saw the same pattern. Massive pipeline, almost no real slack. The issue wasn't, do we have buildings? It was, do we have power to feed them? By 2025, the limiting factor became blunt. Power is the new real estate. In top markets, utilities struggled to deliver enough electricity. Interconnection queues grew. Transmission upgrades lagged. Developers started locking in land only where power was guaranteed, funding their own substations, shifting to secondary markets with idle capacity, designing halls for 300, 400 watts per SQ FT'd and beyond, deploying liquid cooling and new mechanical systems to keep AI gear alive. Contracts evolved too. More pass-throughs and escalators tied to energy cost reservation fees to secure future MW years in advance. Long lead time commitments for capacity that doesn't exist yet. This wasn't just rent growth, it was a repricing of scarcity. Capital treated data centers less like an alternative and more like critical infrastructure. Traditional REIT capital, infrastructure funds, and cloud providers themselves all deployed aggressively. A few dynamics. Major owners, Equinix, Digital Realty, and peers largely held assets, not sold them. M&A focused on platforms and pipelines, not distressed sales cap rates for top-tier stabilized assets, compressed into roughly the 5 to 6% range despite high base rates. Land with locked-in power pricing traded at a premium speculative development, where it existed, was speculative in name only. Most of it was effectively spoken for before completion. The underwriting assumption was simple. If we can get power to it, it will lease. Growth at this speed triggered political and regulatory friction. In places like Loudoun County, Virginia, local leaders tightened zoning, ended by right entitlements in many zones, and layered on design standards and special exceptions. Neighboring jurisdictions considered or implemented moratoria pending impact studies, especially around new transmission lines. At the same time, states competed with incentives. Sales tax exemptions on IT equipment, long-term abatements in exchange for multi-billion-dollar campuses, new data center tax regimes in places like Kansas, and the Southeast utilities and regulators started planning grid upgrades specifically for data center load, because without them, growth literally stalls. The policy environment in 2025 wasn't anti-data center. It was a scramble to catch up with their impact. 2026 doesn't bring relief. It extends the crunch. AI workloads are only beginning. Cloud penetration globally is still early. Edge use cases and new compute-heavy applications add incremental pressure. Vacancy is expected to remain under 2% in key markets. New deliveries are mostly pre-committed. Forecasts call for another 5 to 10% rent increase for large wholesale requirements, especially where power is constrained. Developers will chase secondary and tertiary locations with available power, pair data centers with renewable generation and storage, keep building high-density, power-first campuses. Capital will keep flowing. The only real risk is timing, grid delays, permitting slowdowns, or supply chain friction. But those don't kill demand. They defer it. 2025 proved one thing. Data centers are no longer just a sector. They're the backbone of everything else. And in 2026, the race won't be for land. It'll be for power.